Welcome to the Monday, January the 3rd, 2022. Happy New Year, everyone. To the meeting of the Design Review Committee in Montpelier. I will let members introduce themselves and staff.
Benjamin Cheney.
Meredith Crandall, staff.
Stephen Everett, member.
Eric Gilbertson, member.
Okay, we have everyone here. At this point, we can let staff Meredith review the remote meeting procedures and process.
All right, so a lot of this is for anybody who's watching via ORCA and wants to join in on the meeting. I'm going to share my screen here for them so that they can find how to do it if they need to. All right. So for those, oops, I don't think I brought my normal cheat sheet. Okay, so for those viewing this meeting via ORCA Media, you can participate in tonight's Design Review Committee meeting via the Zoom platform following this link here, or by calling into the meeting using this phone number, and then you'll have to plug in this meeting ID. So even if we're partway into the meeting and you suddenly realize that there's an application you're interested in and you have a comment on, you can log into the meeting while it's in process. And then we'll be able to see you pop up and let you have comments. If anyone is trying to access the meeting and is having problems, please email me at this phone number, at this email address down here. I'll have my email up throughout the meeting. Like I said a minute ago, I forgot my little cheat sheet of my spiel, but I think I can get most of it. If you are on via Zoom, we ask that you please stay muted when you're not talking. We don't have any members of just the general public on tonight so far. It looked like it was all applicants, so we shouldn't have to worry too much about people raising their hands to make comments. But we do ask that you wait to be recognized by the chair before you speak, and Steve will guide you all through that process. If you are having any issues with the Zoom interface, please use the chat function for that. However, please restrict your chat use to those issues for technical issues or other non-substantive issues. If you have a substantive question or something that comes up, please do raise your hand, either physically or using the Zoom raise hand button, and Steve will call on you, or one of us will flag it for him, and we'll get that all working. If I find out via email that members of the public are trying to access this meeting and they can't, we will have to continue this meeting to a time and place certain. I will now hand this back over to the chair.
Thank you. Unless anyone has anything to add at this point, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I move.
Do I hear a second? I'll second it.
Eric, you're muted.
I'm in a very quiet room. I apologize for not being down there tonight, but we have company.
No
that's
worries.
okay.
They're not going to participate.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the agenda, speak your names.
Benjamin
Eric.
Cheney.
And Steve Everett. So we'll go to the first applicant for 4 Landon Street, Montpelier Property Management for Bent Nails Bistro. And is someone here from Bent Nails Bistro?
Yes, I'm here, Aaron Ingham. Hello.
Okay. First question before we go through the review is, did you get the engineer's report?
No engineer's report.
Should we move forward without the engineer's report, or is that a moot point?
I mean, that's for the Chris Lumbra requested the engineer's report for the building permit, for the awning. So the design review committee's input on everything else within their purview. I think, unless the design review committee feels that, at least for the awning, they need the engineer's report to make a decision on that awning.
I could not approve it without an engineer's report because I think the fastening is, I've dealt with buildings, and Ben, you sure have too. The fastening is insufficient to hold a snow load particularly, and even what's up there.
I don't disagree that the fastening or the sort of structure feels minimal at, and so I guess your point, Eric, is that that's not a complete design for you to be able to evaluate until you see what other fastening may or may not be required.
If we approved it, it would certainly be conditional on the engineer's report, as far as I could see. I mean, I don't know, what the materials are, the braces, how heavy that tubing is, but the fastening is to the wall, as near as I can figure out, is with 3 nails and 2 number 8 or 10 screws. I did a little research. The hood is from a 57 Chevy V8, and it's amazing what you can find on the internet, but it weighs approximately 65 pounds and is about 20 square feet. So it could, the snow load code is 50 pounds a square foot. So theoretically, that hood could be required to support 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
And I
Just-
am reasonably certain those fastenings would not hold that.
It just seems sort of the cart before the horse to approve this if they have to, based on engineering, if they have to propose a different mounting system for it, which would mean they would have to come back again to have
Well,
approval.
can I say something? Why don't we just take the awning right off the table then? I'll just take the thing down because to get an engineer to come, we just can't afford that. So I think what we're more interested in are the other things that we've proposed that do not need engineering. So is there a way that we can approve those things and I will just take the awning down?
I think I would have the same concerns with hanging anything on the building, that the fastenings be secure and appropriate for the weight, the wind loads, and all of that. And I also have a concern with fastening and penetrating the buildings, skin screws, which are quite likely to rot around them because they're not protected from the weather.
The other concern is the proposed location of the shark on the side of the building is right under the eave. And if snow load comes off of that, it's going to destroy both particularly if there's any ice that comes off, it's going to destroy the sculpture as well as tear it off the building. Again, I think if you want to propose anything, I think an engineer needs to look at it at its location as well as the attachment. And again, whether we approve or disapprove the application, if anything needs to be changed, you'd have to come back anyway. So
I'm a little concerned that we don't, while I agree about making sure things don't fall off buildings and hurt people, I'm not certain that we apply that same standard to a lot of various different signs that that go up. That I guess I'm thinking back to the Buchspieler sign, and that was basically a precedent that that thing was already there, but I don't know
Yes.
that we asked.
Oh,
for
we
any-
did, we did, Ben. I remember talking about that and the securing and making sure somebody checked those fastenings to the wall.
And
I mean,
again, most of the overhanging signs have a very minimal area that's subject to weather issues.
Yep.
It's certainly vertical weather issues like snow and ice coming off of roofs.
Yep.
And I know that snow and ice comes off of this roof here because I was on
Oh,
the
I
other
had-
side of the street one day when probably about 400 pounds of snow and ice came off that all at one shot.
Oh, and they closed the sidewalk over there because
Yes.
I'm aware that that is certainly, I'm more just checking in, like, as to what is our sort of,
Your jurisdiction, sort of.
yeah, responsibility.
Yeah. So I mean, there is a requirement, and it's more for signs, but where that the support structures for them still need to be compatible with the building. So especially for the awning, concerns about the supports for it and how it's fastened to the building, I think kind of come into play, even though that's normally talked about with regards to signs, with regard to. If you're talking, damage to historic materials, character defining features, that's something that comes into, the actual safety of it isn't really the design review committee's purview. That's something that I'm in conference with both Department of Public Works about and with Chris Lumbra, specifically with Chris Lumbra about the awning, and DPW more with the shark.
I do think, though, that if we have a concern about those issues, that we should raise.
Yep. No, I think having
mean-
that on the record that those are
That's
concerns
part-
of yours are definitely
can-
things to say. I'm not sure that it goes to the actual, how many of the criteria that you look at for design review that those go to.
Okay, I mean, we can always go through the criteria
Mhm.
based on the application and then vote on that and move it forward one way or the other.
And you might need to have, if there's particular aspects of the application that come up, whether it's the octopus or the shark or the awning, different parts that you're more concerned with regard to each of these criteria, I would just make sure to point those out.
Can I also just add, the shark, for example, has been hanging on the outside of my gallery in Marshfield for 3+ years now, in the same type of position under awning and in the weather. So I would say it's more than proven that it's not going anywhere. Those things I take very seriously, and I realize this is not going to affect your decision, but the awning was tested also at my place before I ever thought about putting it up. I'm not into putting people's safety at risk simply to display my artwork. So I didn't want you to feel like I'm just trying to do that, because I was actually hoping to create a safer environment, because that front step ledge is horrible the way it was and very dangerous without an awning and a railing. So I was actually trying to do the opposite of what you're thinking it's doing, apparently. So
Just
I
out
wanted
of
to-
curiosity, I assume your studio is that spot right on Route 2 there with the penguin and
Yes, yes.
cool.
that's
Great. Yeah, I love driving by there. Nice spot there. Thank you.
Yeah, you should stop in sometime. The inside is impressive also.
Cool. I like that penguin a lot.
Can I put that on the side of the building?
Might be nice over the river, just in case
Right,
things went
exactly.
wrong.
It is a boat. It's an old boat. Okay.
Okay, what we'll do then is we can move forward and I will just review the criteria And then based on each one, I will get some feedback from the other two committee members about what your feelings are. For
What are we looking at? The shark? I
where we're
mean,
look, the application is for the whole thing. It's for the railings, the hood, the shark, the octopus, the snake on the side, the whole thing. So I'll go through, and any reaction you have would be to all of the above, all of them collectively, because that's what the application is for. Not for each individual piece, one at a time, but all collectively. So for all projects in the design review district, exterior design and materials of new construction or alterations of existing buildings shall be consistent and compatible with the characteristics of the existing building or other properties in the district. The removal of historic materials or alteration of features and spaces that characterize a historic property shall be avoided. There's no removal. Character defining features, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that characterize an historic building shall be preserved. Deteriorated character defining features shall be repaired rather than replaced. Where the severity of deterioration, there's no deterioration here existing. And C, any treatments that cause damage to historic materials, including but not limited to chemical or physical treatments such as sandblasting, shall not be approved. So, committee members, what is your feeling regarding that? Is that acceptable or unacceptable?
I say it's unacceptable for a couple of reasons. One is that the hood certainly obscures some distinctive architectural features, and I think one could say the same thing about the other two pieces. I'm concerned that fastening is actually doing damage to the building for the reason that the screws that are out in the weather like that, they're not stainless steel, I don't believe. And in any case, they're going to attract water and allow rotting. The first thing that will happen is the screws will lose some of their strength. And it is damaging the historic fabric of the building.
And Ben, what is your take?
I'm curious about there was in that description about craftsmanship, and it was more about the craftsmanship of the building than it was what was being applied to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's saying that they need to be preserved.
Yep.
And then the other question was the exterior design shall be, and alterations of existing buildings should be consistent and compatible with the characteristics of the existing building or other properties in the district. So do you find the changes compatible with the existing building or any other buildings in that area?
I definitely have a problem with that. Partly because take the shark, for example. It's one of the characteristics of the building is the clapboard siding, the fenestration patterns, and this is large enough and distracting enough to obscure and distract from that characteristic.
I mean, I disagree with that. I feel like these are art pieces that are being attached to a building that are not permanently altering the building. I think it's similar to the murals that have been painted on the brick building, that they are large enough and would distract from the character defining of those buildings and are removable. If you're talking about the shark in that way or the octopus in that way, I feel like these are not permanent applications to this building, but are sort of art pieces that could be taken down.
I like the art pieces as art pieces. I like art pieces and have several myself that are made out of found materials. I think it's very creative and everything. I think it is. I just don't think pieces as large as this uh, uh, are compatible with the historic character of the building.
And I guess I would have to agree with Eric for the same reason in terms of compatibility with the existing building. That's a very old building that's been preserved, gone to great extent to be preserved. That was originally on Main Street. It was actually moved back to its current location years ago. And it has a lot of interesting features, and I'm not sure that the artwork as applied, again, I'm looking at that alterations consistent and compatible with the characteristics of the existing building or other properties. And I would have to agree with Eric. But I could just write down that it was 2-1.
Yep.
Number 2, existing buildings shall be recognized as a physical record of their time, place, and use. Any new development shall be differentiated from the old, but shall respect and be compatible with the massing, size, scale, architectural features, detailing, and overall character of the primary historic building and nearby historic properties.
This one typically is more to do with, say, an addition on a building, but I didn't want to say that this one was completely not applicable to this, because it's not something that says that it can only be applied to additions. This is where the design review guidelines that the Historic Preservation Commission is coming up with will, I think, help when it comes to interpreting how to apply these. We're just not there yet.
Okay, so if any new development has to do with additions to the building, then this one would not be applicable.
Right, but it's a little fuzzy.
Okay,
I think the hood over the doors could be considered an addition to the building. The other things, maybe not.
I mean, I guess I feel like it would take 15, 20 minutes to pull that thing down. If that was like, and I guess like anything that I imagine that is like an actual addition to the building is like deeply built into the building.
okay, then we can just make a call that that's not applicable in this particular application.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Down on the bottom, number 5, alterations to buildings called for by public safety, accessibility, and fire codes shall be designed to maintain the character of the construction materials and features to the maximum extent feasible. And
This is
again,
really
this,
just for the railing.
I'm sorry,
No, it's okay. My apologies. This is really just for the railing.
okay.
Yeah, the railings are fine. As far as I'm concerned.
I have no problem with the railings.
Neither do I. Okay, so number 5 is acceptable for the railing only. And again, it's a safety feature. Number 12, architectural features. Architectural features including but not limited to cornices, windows, shutters, fan lights, entablature, trim, and other forms of molding or character defining detailing prevailing on the existing building shall be considered in the alteration of a building. Eric, would you call that applicable in this particular case?
Yes,
Okay,
because I think the hood covers up the entablature to the for the door,
right.
and it's you know, it isn't, the materials are not compatible.
And Ben, what is your take on it?
Well, it kind of goes back to the like, how built in is this? If this was like a built-in permanent fixture to the building, I would agree with Eric that this is not compatible with that building. If it is a piece of art that is attached to the building that also happens to keep the rain off the step, then I don't quite feel the same way.
And again, the summation of that, of number 12 is architectural features shall be considered in the alteration of a building. And again, it doesn't have to be a permanent, something more permanent in the sense of an overhang that, or of an enclosure or some kind of a roof support that's meant to be permanent.
Yeah,
I would have to agree with Eric on this one as well for the same reasons. But I'll let you make your call.
yeah. I view it as a piece of art that is applied to the building.
Okay. So I'd call that 2 in favor and 1 not in favor.
Yeah.
Well, two. Two not in favor.
2 not in favor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 2 not in favor, 1 in favor.
I think
And
none
that-
of the other pieces of art we have approved conceal architectural features at all.
Right.
I think it's a great addition to downtown to have art around, but I mean, our part of our design review charge is to protect the historic buildings. And being an historic preservation person, I take that very seriously and don't want to see anything done that damages historic buildings, art or otherwise.
Well, I have to take a little offense to that, Eric, because it seems memories are a bit short. The amount of time and money we've put into that building to not only preserve it, but make it better than it's been for the last couple decades, from what I'm told. So we're certainly not trying to do anything to harm the building in that respect. We've brought that place back inside and outside, all 3 floors, and the basement, actually 4 floors, to a place that it is not seen in decades. So I think that should be at least put on the record.
I appreciate what you're doing to the building, but that doesn't mean that an individual part of it, what you're doing, it does not have the potential to cause damage. It's not the whole, you know, the whole idea of reusing the building is great. I don't know everything you've done inside, but I think it's great. It's just that the art proposals particularly, I think, have the potential to do damage to the building and are incompatible, particularly the hood, with the.
Well, to counter your stainless steel screws can be used. They can be rubberized and caulked. So those arguments don't really, that could be easily solved as far as that kind of possible damage done. So again, I'm not exactly sure how those pieces could damage the building otherwise. They haven't damaged my building. Like I said, they've been on them for years. So it's tested, and I know it's not going to sway your opinion, obviously, where you are, but I have to say that for the record. It's you know, I don't do these things very easily. I know what I'm doing, and can't just put something on the side of a building and hope it stays up. I do have a little more skill than that. So I just hope that's taken into account before your final vote.
Well, I appreciate your view and that I do like to see art and creative things being done with buildings downtown. It's not that part of it.
Well, maybe this will turn into me just asking, is there any place at all then on the building that you would approve something? Maybe we go from that angle, because this seems like a time waste for everyone to keep trying to doing that. So I would take your advice on that. You could just tell me no if that's going to be your thoughts around the whole building, but I would certainly like your opinions on that.
Before we go back up to the earlier criteria, the last one that staff suggests not applicable is porches and stairs on historic structures. And it says the location of porches, ramps, and stairs shall be placed in a manner that does not impact or undermine the original and significant ornamentation or detailing of the existing building. I
Yeah,
would.
so that was just that subpart that I was
Yes.
suggesting not applicable, and then there's those other subparts.
And then it says stairs, ramps, and porches shall employ suitable detailing to connect and be compatible with the historic and important design features of existing buildings and new construction. And stairs and ramps shall be designated in a manner with details and materials that provide the most sensitive and compatible structure that fits the building design and layout. So stairs, ramps, porches employ suitable detailing to connect and be compatible with the historic and important design features of existing buildings.
Yeah, this one's a little weird because they're not adding a porch or stairs. The stairs were already there.
Yes.
They're just adding the railing. So it's just one of those ones where it's a little funky as to how much of it would really apply to this particular situation. But I wanted to make sure that I didn't just decide it was all
Okay,
not
yes.
applicable when maybe the committee would disagree.
Do you have any feelings on that, Eric?
Yeah, I can see how it would not apply, but this is really porches and stairs. The only thing that gets involved with porches and stairs is the octopus. And
Yeah.
I don't know how involved
I
that
would-
is.
I would just call that not applicable because it doesn't really address what's being applied for.
I would agree with that.
So the two issues that had a split decision on were exterior design and materials of new construction or alterations shall be consistent and compatible with the characteristics of the existing building or other properties in the district. And number 12 was the architectural features. And again, anything added onto the building shall be considered in the existing features, architectural features of the building. And again, one of the requirements is that anything added does not obscure any of the architectural features of the building. The hood over the entry does somewhat, but it does leave much of it visible, but the question again is, everything that's proposed, is that compatible with the characteristics of the existing building or other properties in the district?
I keep coming back to the word additions in there, that I feel like these are very temporary.
New construction or alterations.
Yeah,
and
and I
it's-
don't see them
it's-
as an alteration either.
What, Ben, I disagree. I think it is an alteration in the sense that these are not similar materials. And Aaron, a little bit to reply to you is that in the bigger picture of compatibility, maybe it is not appropriate to add sculptures of this size and of the materials, which I like. Maybe it is not appropriate on a historic building. Yes.
Well, appropriate's a very dangerous word, Eric. It's art, that doesn't really sit well with me. So I don't know what's appropriate as far as artwork goes. And but anyway, you know what? It's okay. It's okay. It's obvious where we're headed with this, and I don't want to waste anybody else's time. I just,
Aaron,
yeah.
I'm sorry, before we have anything irrevocable said, I just want to step in procedurally. Just so that you're aware, because we haven't really had this discussion yet, if you're disagreeing with what the design review committee is saying, you do have the option to bump this up to the development and review board, right? The development and review board can step in
Sure.
as sort of a judge
Sure.
to take a fresh look. So I'm just letting you know you do have that option. We very rarely have this kind of back and forth. But that is an option after tonight, if you want to do that, right?
Okay.
There's no guarantee that the development review board would have a different opinion than the design review committee, but we can talk about that tomorrow if you want, as what the options are going forward. I do need, as a zoning administrator, I do need the design review committee's input and for them to have a final vote before we close this out tonight. So,
And again, we are only an advisory
right.
committee.
And they're just advisory, right? So they give guidance on how either I or the development review board apply the design regulations. And so that's just so you know. Okay.
Sure, I understand. I appreciate that. I guess what I was getting at is, like I said in the beginning, if we could take the awning off the board, it seems that the functionality of some of my artwork is confusing people. And I get that. And so when we're just simply talking about sculpture and artwork that doesn't necessarily have any functionality, maybe it's seen differently. And I could use that mural on the brick building. I don't understand how that's different. Maybe that could be explained, but that's what I was talking about. Taking the awning off the board, I'll just take it down. If that's the big problem here, it sounds like it is.
You guys, this isn't.
Well,
I
again,
need your input on that and his thoughts on that. And you can say we approve, we're okay with certain parts and not other parts of the application, if that is the conclusion. It's up to.
Eric, would you approve any portions of the application? You have the existing the Chevy hood plus the art on top of the hood, and then you have the other piece of art on the next to the corner board in the front of the building,
There's a dragon / snake, the octopus and the shark.
and then the octopus and the shark on the sides of the building. Do you find any of those pieces as alterations compatible with the characteristics of the building or other properties in the district?
I'm thinking, I haven't disappeared. Not really because of the impact on the historic character of the building. I would certainly be fine with them as freestanding objects. I have no problem with that at all. I know they don't work that way, but just for the sake of discussion.
And what are your thoughts, Ben?
Well, I don't disagree with Aaron in that I don't see a huge distinction between any of the murals that we've chosen to put up on any of the buildings and this sculpture. I do hear the concerns about it falling off the building. I do hear concerns, especially, I think it would fall off the building when the snow fell off the building, or that would be the moment it would fall off the building. And I feel like the snow is the bigger problem than the sculpture itself. I think that these are pieces of art that actually will draw the eye to the building, that people might actually notice some of its historical components that they may not have seen before, because now they're looking at the building in a more unique and possibly critical way. Whether they like or dislike the art, they're actually paying attention to the building. So I feel okay about putting these things up with some consideration to, which is out of our purview, about whether they were to fall off the building, what would happen.
So you would be okay with all of the components?
I'm okay certainly with, yeah, all the components. I do have concerns about the hood from a person that spends time building structural things over people's heads. I have concerns about that one. But again, I don't feel like that's my role here.
And I have a combination of concerns about the size and number of pieces of art on the building
Yep, number is a fair concern.
that seem to overwhelm the building a little bit, as well as the structural issues. And again, if those pieces or the structural components of the overhang, the hood, Chevy hood, are not sturdy enough to be acceptable from an engineering and a building code concern, then that would have to be changed if it were to remain. And that's unfortunate that it'd have to come back for an entire, for a modification of the application as it is. And based on those, based on the criteria that we are obligated to review projects by, I would find the application as it is unacceptable myself.
I hear the concern about number of pieces.
Number and size of pieces related to the size of the building.
I hear that concern.
The artwork on some of the other buildings are either single piece or some murals painted on a lower portion of a very, very large building, brick building. And it's only on one side, not three sides of the building.
Yep.
And it's down on the ground, and it doesn't project out, and it doesn't have any safety issues. I just see that as a different scale.
The materials, the paint materials, I mean, we paint buildings, the materials are compatible with the painting as well. I might be less concerned with sculpture on the riverside. because that's not it's a part of the building that has been, it's not a flat plane like the Elm Street side or a primary facade like the Langdon Street side. Meredith, I have a question. I don't know whether it's related or not, but did you ever figure out the conduits that go to
Uh,
the lights?
I haven't, Eric. Because last time we talked about that was last Monday, and I haven't worked since last Monday.
Uh, Aaron, I have a question. We approved lights, but particularly the one on the corner, but I believe that was a solar light. And now there's conduit running to it that to me obscures part of the window trim and that kind of thing. And I don't know when that was installed.
Yeah, the solar lights proved ineffective and simply were not working. So we found the same lumens that were approved and what we thought were the same type of lighting. So it's the same light essentially.
I'm not concerned about that as much as a conduit running on the building.
Okay, well, we were under the impression that it was the lumens that were
It's,
guys-
Anything on
Very,
the outside of the building.
I think that with a change that significant, it should have come back to design review.
So, Aaron, there's a couple of different layers to it. The design review committee needs to look at any changes that have an impact on the outside of the building. So adding the conduit to get to the different light. The lumens and everything is just the zoning permit, the bigger zoning permit. That's something that the DRC doesn't look at. That's something I looked at before I could approve the lights. So it's, we'll have to go back and look at what the permit actually approved, if it was specifically for a solar light. But outside of that, we've only got 3 members of a 5-member panel. And we need, with 3, you have to have all 3 votes in favor to get the design review committee's approval. Or I should say maybe a design review committee's
Blessing.
blessing, blessing.
Yes.
What did
You guys still need to do a vote,
We're
I think.
voting on.
Pardon, Eric?
I missed what we're voting on.
There hasn't been a vote yet. I was just trying to make sure that everybody was aware that
Yep.
all 3 of you are going to have to agree on a final recommendation or blessing or not for. Go ahead.
Eric, before you asked about lumens, you were talking about how you felt that putting art on the riverside was more acceptable to you. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Well, I think the proposal is the octopus on the riverside, and that kind of secured and protected by the porch, and I think more appropriate for the riverside. But that's just a thought. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, I agree that I think that is a place to be able to put an object like that is out of harm's way and is possibly a pretty difficult thing to attach to a building, but I think it speaks to the river. I think it speaks to the piece of art on the other side attached to the Lachlan Smith kind of rock dangler. And I think there's reason that should be found acceptable.
And what about the 2 pieces on the front of the building and the hood?
I hear your concerns about it being overwhelming and I feel like I can hear that there's too many pieces. That is a fair concern that I hear.
It's a combination of the number of pieces and the size of them in relation to the building.
Yep.
Steve,
Yes.
just a thought. Um, given and this is something that Aaron can say yay or nay to as well, given some of the input and especially the thought about potentially paring back some of the pieces or maybe shifting some of them, who knows? Would the committee be open to having Aaron come back in 2 weeks with perhaps a modified application?
I'm certainly open to it.
Yes.
Yes.
That would certainly be acceptable. And again, either Chris Lumber or somebody who can say that, the supports for that overhang and that is the final design for those supports that will hold 1,000 pounds or whatever the load requirement is.
Yep.
Because it doesn't make any sense to approve something that's not going to be acceptable code-wise.
Yep.
Because then that design has to come back.
I would agree with that too.
I would be concerned about any fastenings, the load on the shark could be significant with snow coming off the roof. And even the little piece on the front, I don't know what to call the creature, but that has the potential of falling. And I think parts of that are I would need to have somebody be very clear that the fastenings are appropriate for
The
carrying.
the other issue on the front of the building with the whatever you call that snake or sea creature or whatever you use to describe it, the location of that should be moved to make sure it does not interfere or obstruct any of the architectural features. Again, that's a requirement as well. And even the corner board should not be covered by any of the artwork.
If that was moved around to the riverside where it's not possible for it to fall on public way, I'd be happy with that.
Again, the art added to a building should complement the building and not overwhelm it or create safety issues. And again, I know that some of that is subjective, but if you would be willing to come back to another meeting with maybe some modifications, I would probably leave everything off the building on the Elm Street side, again, because of the issues with snow load coming off that building. In the past, heavy ice has come off of that, enough that it could actually have killed somebody. Fortunately, it's frequently been barricaded to keep people from going by. And I myself wouldn't add anything to that side that projects in any way, shape, or form that could be either ripped off the building or cause any further safety concerns.
Aaron, one of the things the committee does, not as frequently as I'd like it, but we can have informal discussions about this without presenting a formal application. And I don't know what the fee deal is on coming back for a second time.
No fee for coming back in 2 weeks if we just say that this is continued and we move it forward to 2 weeks from now. And then for future projects, definitely you can come before the design review committee for like an informal discussion before you submit an actual application with fees. I think here part of it was that you gotten stuff up and then we needed to get everything in before you put up more artwork and get you before the committee.
I would, I think the conduit is not part of this application. It was put up on the front of the building, but I think that needs to come back.
Yep. I've got to go back and look at how the permit was actually worded, Eric.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just concerned that it obscures architectural features.
Yep, I hear you.
Would you be willing to come back in a couple of weeks with some modifications?
It's not that I'm not willing, I just go back to my previous question of, if you're saying that the Riverside is the only allowable place for artwork, then that's what I'm looking for. That, I'd want to make sure, I don't want to apply for anything that you're obviously not going to approve. So that's, if that's what you're telling me, I'd like to know that in advance, and then I would happily reapply.
Yeah, I think that's the part of the informal discussions that we've had with a number of applicants when questions come up about things. And then you get an idea what we're thinking, and we can have a less formal discussion about it.
Okay, sure, that sounds fair.
So, Steve, it sounds like if Aaron and Carice could come up with documentation about the awning / canopy, like that would be one thing you would potentially be looking for. And I know that Chris Lumber is looking for that as well, to be able to issue a building permit for that. He wasn't going to issue a building permit, is my understanding, without some more documentation about that being able to withstand snow load.
Yeah, Meredith, I really don't think that's gonna happen. We can't afford
Okay.
an engineer. I'm just gonna have to take it down. So
Okay.
I
Sorry.
can't afford that. I'm sorry.
No, I hear you. So any future awnings or anything you want to
Yes,
put over that? I'm
yes,
sure you talked to Chris first.
I got the message. Thank you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, I agree. An awning there would be smart to protect those steps from, especially from ice, because that's, you don't always see that.
Yeah.
And then you were all talking maybe smaller potential art installations, not quite as many, and the riverside being a more preferable side of the building is what it sounded like, especially from Steve and Eric. Does
Okay.
that sound like a good summary?
I think so.
I
Okay.
know, Ben, you were sort of an outlier
Yep.
between you three, and then we may also have additional members in 2 weeks who are attending.
And I would just throw this out, Eric and Aaron, that I would be happy to meet someday to do an informal review and just kind of look at the building and look at some ideas and understand some of your methods for attachment more thoroughly in an informal review, if that was helpful or desired, or
I'd be happy to do that.
so.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you.
As long as
And
everybody reports on it at the next meeting.
Right.
If it's between now and then.
And again,
And there's only 2 of you, so we don't have a quorum.
Right.
and again, one of the advantages, obviously, of mounting things on the riverside is that you're under an existing roof with supports that have withstood the test of time so far. And then there are no issues with, no structural issues with snow loads or other attachments, because you're underneath that upper porch, which gives you a lot of protection and ease of access as well. So if you would be willing to come back in a couple of weeks with the proposal to move some of the items, I would like to see you back.
Okay, sounds fair.
Thank you, Aaron.
Okay,
Thank you, Aaron.
so
All right,
we'll,
thanks, folks. Appreciate your time.
thank you.
All right, so that'll be continued to January 18th.
Yes.
Same time, it's a Tuesday, Aaron,
Okay.
because Monday's a holiday and the city hall will be closed. So it'll be Tuesday, January 18th, 5:30.
I'm just going to give you that back
Yep.
unfilled and
All right. Luckily, we don't have a development review board meeting at 7 because we have half an hour to get through 2 applications.
okay. We'll
And
move.
Aaron, I'll be in the office tomorrow if you feel like calling.
Okay, thank you, Meredith.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time and thank you for your willingness to try to make some accommodations and come back. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Okay, goodbye. You can go forward to the next application for 51 Berlin Street, John and Maria Quadros. Is someone here
Oh.
to describe the application?
I'm here.
Lori?
This is Lori Burgard from Accelerate Permits.
Okay. Do you have her name?
Yep.
Okay, good. Go ahead and describe your application for the change.
So what they would like to do is remove the existing drive-through menu board for the Dunkin' Donuts and do a replacement. It's going to be a new menu board that's mounted on a canopy, which it also offers like a ordering speaker. And then the new menu board would be mounted on that canopy.
The menu board is mounted sort of against the wall on the canopy.
Actually, the structure is mounted through the ground. It's not attached to the building.
Okay,
So here's the picture of what the new one would look like with the roof on it. So the current one is attached, I think, pretty much right to the building. And here's
Yeah.
this new structure. And is that the sort of speakers in the middle with a double screen, one on either side, Lori?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, the existing is not mounted to the building. It is
Oh, okay.
mounted to the ground. It has a steel cage, so it's bolted to that steel cage. And so it's standalone.
Oh, okay, thank you.
from a practical standpoint, I like the idea of an awning. It'll avoid getting my car wet. That's where you have your window open.
So basically, you're just replacing what's there now with a little different design and some improvements in the visual.
Yeah, it's an upgraded, the new menu board is upgraded with new technology.
Yes. And then the awning overhead to keep the rain and snow out of your window while you're trying to order your food.
Yes.
Is the awning roof the red as shown in the diagram?
Yes.
And that's an accurate color representation?
Yes, as far as I know, it is.
So
Okay.
like is it gonna be sort of the Dunkin' Donuts sort of orangey color?
Yes. Yes.
Any committee members have any comments, questions, suggestions of any kind?
No, I'm fine with me.
Okay.
I'm sure Dunkin' Donuts has thought about it, but 10 feet feels low for an awning if I'm trying to drive my truck through there. But that's not my problem.
Well, I guess you have a large truck, you have to go inside.
Yep.
I hope people with tall roof racks
Yep.
realize, do you have a sign that indicates the height of the awning in case that became a problem?
Sure. So on the side of the awning, it actually does list the clearance. Just like in any other time you do a drive-through. So
Right.
it does show the clearance as being 10 feet. To
Okay,
the lowest point.
That doesn't help much on covered bridges, but
Well, I would hope anyone in a box truck would park in the parking lot and walk in.
yeah.
Have you had trucks drive through the drive-through?
You know what? I've never heard of anyone having an issue with Dunkin' Donuts. I have run into, in my experience, more the Walgreens pharmacy drive-throughs, but never for a Dunkin' Donuts canopy.
Okay. Too bad they don't make those overhangs with a breakaway, so if somebody hit it, it would actually rotate rather than break.
That's a good idea.
But on some of the covered bridges, they're thinking about putting up steel beams. So it just lowers the truck enough that they can get through. Right.
Squeeze it down.
Oh.
And again, that's not a design issue as much as, I mean, a breakaway would be nice in case the thing would just rotate instead of breaking off, but I mean, hopefully people read the sign for the height.
We can't fix stupid drivers anyway.
No. Okay, unless anybody has anything else, we can run through the criteria for this one. For new construction, again, this is exterior design and materials of new construction or alterations of existing buildings shall be consistent and compatible with the characteristics of the existing building or other properties in the district. New construction shall be considered to be compatible if the materials used possess a kind or type that are appropriate to the district. Materials selected shall either fit the neighborhood context of the proposed building and or reflect the nature and use of the structure. Acceptable. Existing buildings shall be recognized as a physical record of their time, place, and use. Acceptable at this location. Location and appearance of all utilities, mechanical equipment, trash storage, and fencing shall be sited to minimize adverse and visual impact or adequately and appropriately screened from public view. The location of this new board on the side of the building is acceptable. And outdoor lighting fixtures, the structural design of outdoor lighting fixtures shall be compatible with the architectural design and function of the building and compatible with the neighborhood. This signboard at this location on the side of the building is acceptable. And there's a criteria for new buildings only, accessory buildings and structures.
Well, so it's accessory structures. This is kind of an accessory structure.
Okay.
It's a separate. Sorry, I
We'll
wasn't
call
near
it
mic.
an accessory structure. New accessory buildings or structures shall be located within either the side yard or rear yard and shall not visually disrupt the streetscape or alter the integrity of the existing building and proposed new building. Acceptable. All in favor of the application, speak your names.
Benjamin
Eric.
Cheney,
And Steve Everett. So the vote is 3 in favor, approved. And I'll let you describe the next step for them.
So Lori, because there weren't any comments or any tweaks to the recommendation form to the project, we will get this permit sent out in the next couple of days. Hold on, I'm trying to go back to my form. Just to double check. So we actually have you as the only contact for this. Maybe you could email me with who we should actually send the permit to, because there's going to be a permit, and then there's going to be a blue notice card that needs to get posted at the Dunkin' Donuts location. So we could have somebody from there come and pick it up, or we could mail it. But I don't think you want us to mail the permit and the blue notice card to Arizona.
Actually, you know what? I'll email you because I represent the sign company.
Okay,
And so I will send you my project manager's information. so that
Perfect.
it can be sent to them.
awesome. And do you have, I had my email address up at the beginning, and it's on the planning department website, but do you have it otherwise?
I do have it. Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Lori.
Great, thank you
Sorry,
so
I think
much.
you have the record for our longest Zoom.
We have probably hit the record for the longest Zoom for DRC so far.
Thank you very much for your application and good luck with your project.
Thank you very much.
We can move on to the next application for 118 Main Street. Owner Malone Properties, Hugo's Restaurant Group. And this is the review of the placement of 3 new awning signs with lighting. And is someone here from Hugo's to describe the application?
Hi, this is Tom Green. I'm here, and I'm also joined by Erica from Wood and Wood, who is doing the sign work. And so I'm going to defer to her for most questions since they're a bit above my pay grade.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Erica, just so you know, I didn't circulate the slight updates you sent us about the sign change. I do have it
slight logo.
electronically, so I can share it so that they can see about that one awning about the piano bar being tweaked, that sign. But I went through the numbers and it doesn't change anything for the larger zoning aspect of it. So we'll be able to show it to the DRC members when
Great,
we get
great.
there.
Great.
So you go ahead and can describe what's up.
Oh, great. Okay, so thanks for having us tonight. Happy New Year. The location is Hugo's Restaurant. We are doing a new 3 parts. Well, it's 1A and B and number 2. The first is the actual fascia sign. We have one large fascia sign that goes across the front of the building that you can probably see on several different angles that we provided.
That's on the thing, right? Not on the
pardon?
building. That's on the awning, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
There's a metal, well, the left part, which is the second part, is the awning sign. So to talk about the first part, which says Hugo's Bar and Grill across the top, there's a metal structure there that we are going to attach 1/8-inch die bond to. Have that here, very thin, with some particular screws, in which I need to call them out, hexagon screws that'll be attached to the already established metal frame that's there. There'll be 2 logos on that part. One is very long and thin. It's 24 feet by 9 by 14 inches. That's the one you see across the top right there, Hugo's Bar and Grill, correct? There's
Yes.
that metal piece. So it's just going to be that front part that's going to be that very thin 1/8-inch thick aluminum die bond, which is a die bond aluminum composite, which is used incredibly often. The second part is the Hugo's, where it goes above the door, bar and grill. That area is 14 feet by 11 as far as I have here. I'm sorry, 8 by 3, I believe, and 14 inches as well for that logo area. The high
Okay.
point is 28 inches on the V top above there.
Uh-huh.
Again, die bond. It's going to be painted. It's going to be black and white, painted flat on that logo itself, plus the line bars. The total square footage that we are allowed, that I'm understood, is 132 square feet. This itself, including the awning sign, will be 13.79 square feet. So that gives us a bit of flexibility. The second area is the Hugo sign. I'm sorry, let's go back and just discuss the lighting. I'm sure you're going to ask me about that. We have 3 lighting, custom gooseneck lights that are going to be as well attached to that metal bar, and that again has the hex head self-tapping screw. The same goes for the Hugo's light. It's an individual gooseneck That too, it has a custom gooseneck and it's got a powder coated black flat light reflector. Obviously, you can see it bears down, curves in by the drawing that we provided. The lighting that can go in there, I sent a spec sheet. It can be of any lumen of the choice of the city's choice, or of course the owner's choice. And I sent a spec sheet that discusses that. They're LED lights. Then I guess on the awning sign, which will not have any lighting, that's over to the left. That's an already existing awning. We're going to take off that material, replace it with canvas, a very strong canvas that's going to have the Hugos painted right flat as well on there, black and white. Total square footage for everything that we're doing, 1379, 100 square feet, which I think Tom can speak a little bit more about than I. There's a restaurant sign that's above the building that is 100 square feet, which is included on a 132. So 132 minus 100, we have 32 left. That's 13.79 is what we have.
Yeah, just about the restaurant sign, at Meredith's advice, we included it as signage, even though it's a historic sign that's been there since I don't know how long, Steve, you probably know better than I do, but it's been there as long as I've been in Montpelier. And we had Malone Properties go up and measure it, and measured at exactly 100 square feet.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, using the criteria that Meredith gave to us around measuring around the letters and the white space around it. So that's what we came up with those figures.
Great, thank you for doing that, by the way.
Thanks for
Not
responding.
kidding, making me do it.
That's
Or
a
make me
landmark
do
in
it.
Montpelier, that sign. I've lived here 45 years and was old then when I moved. Used to be the lobster pot.
I remember, yeah, I came here in '93 and the lobster pot was still here. So, remember.
One quick question. Over the long sign in the middle, two of the drawings show 3 goosenecks and one drawing shows 2 goosenecks. Is that, I'm assuming there are 3 goosenecks?
Oh, so I guess I can only say that we did to get this rolling. We have 2 designs that we have not come to confirmation on. So we've provided the smaller version and the 2 goosenecks, but we kind of applied through the larger version just in case Tom and his team choose to do the 3 goosenecks.
Okay.
That again, we were trying to do a time thing and get this in for the last week. Pre-Christmas, we haven't kind of confirmed anything yet. So
Okay.
if that's a problem, I'm happy to pull one. And if something changes, reapply.
No, that's fine. We could do an option if everyone finds it acceptable. We could do an option for either one.
Yep, and then, I don't know if you saw when I had the share screen up, let me show you, well, they sent an alternative for the awning, and I'll put it back up for you, that has slightly different wording.
Oh, thank you.
Where it has a little bit extra, and it talks about it being the piano bar.
Upstairs at
Yep.
Hugo's Piano Bar.
So that's a little different from what you got in the original packet.
Right there, yes, that was.
See that, Eric?
Yep.
So it really, and you know, my point of view, it doesn't really change it much. It added a little bit of text, but we aren't really, you guys can talk about the color of the text and the font
Yes.
used and the size, but we can't really talk about the actual verbiage being used.
Well, it's actually a good directional, because I don't know how many times we've been on the patio and watched people go to the door before,
All the time.
which was not open because that upstairs restaurant had been closed for years. People kept trying to go to the door and they said, how do we get into the building?
Right.
Oh, that's funny. Excellent. Sideline use of directionals.
Question I have about the lights. Are they well shielded so that you're not gonna see the lights themselves from across the street?
Yes, I did send an actual, I don't know if I can put this up. I don't know if you guys got this, but I sent a cross notion, so it will be shielded enough, and it can be, if you see on here, it's tempered
Great.
Hold
all the
on.
way in, so it's gonna be reflecting kind of right back onto the sign itself.
If you give me just a second, Erica, I'll share it. I got
Sorry,
just, no,
Erica.
it's
Sorry.
okay. I'm making sure I pulled the most recent ones you sent. Versus the ones that were in the packet, even though I think this is exactly the same as what's in the
Yes.
printed packet.
It shows. the
Correct, and
angle.
it's,
Yep.
as far as we know, it's in line with the other lighting that we have done in Montpelier.
And as you walk down the sidewalk, this isn't gonna shine in anybody's eyes or anything, that the fixtures recessed far enough back in there. that you can-
It's 22 inches off
Yeah.
the building, and then the curvature will in itself, it will vie down right on the sign. It should not reflect, and we can always change lumens if it's to directly reflect
I just worry about it, people going down the sidewalk and getting in their eyes.
being blinded. Yes, of course. My best answer to that is how it's been designed under our consciousness of what you're speaking, direct lighting right onto the sign itself is what we're going for. We don't want to light the sidewalk, frankly. We want all the attention on the sign.
Okay.
I think the size of the canopy on the light itself, plus the angle, it doesn't look like it's going to throw much light down on the sidewalk below it. It looks like it's aimed right at the sign. So
Sounds good to me.
sounds good. Any questions or comments from any other committee members, Eric?
Oh, no.
Okay, I'll run down through the criteria. Signs in the design control overlay district. The size, location, design, color, texture, lighting, and material of all exterior signs within the design review overlay district shall be compatible with the building and structures of the site and surrounding properties, acceptable. Where appropriate, signing shall respect the original sign placement and sign bands on historic structures. This location is acceptable. If a building has multiple tenants, there shall be consistency in placement and size among all signs. There's only one tenant, and the locations are designated appropriately. It is recommended that sign placement be centered over building entries. This is acceptable at this location. Sign installation shall minimize damage to character defining materials on the building, acceptable. Sign design, color, and typography shall respect historic precedents where appropriate and shall be the approximate scale, appropriate scale for existing and new buildings, acceptable. Sign support structures shall be compatible with the building architecture and must not be overly complex or dominant in and of themselves, acceptable. Lighting fixtures for signs on facades of historic buildings shall not conflict with or damage the building's architectural integrity or recover or impact character-defining architectural features, acceptable. And lighting fixtures for signs mounted on all building facades shall be designed with appropriate housing, shielding, and photometrics to ensure that there is appropriate lighting levels and illumination that focuses on the sign panels exclusively, acceptable. All in favor of the application with the changes for the piano bar? Speak
And
your name.
With the option for the smaller size sign on the big
Yes.
section if they want
And
it.
I can
Okay.
put that,
And
Thank you.
there's an,
option of 2 or 3 lights.
Yep, and the 2 or 3
That's
lights
big
over the
enough.
center.
has the option, or I should say has the choice of options for the lettering size. and number of light fixtures. On the long center portion of the sign. So again, the applicant has a choice of options for the lettering size and number of light fixtures on the long center portion of the sign grouping. And then again, the final application is for the piano bar. So that is accepted as proposed. All in favor, speak your names.
Benjamin Cheney.
Eric,
And Steve Everett. So it is approved, all three in favor.
Thank you. Really
Um,
appreciate
Thank you so much. Thanks for the time, everybody.
it.
So
Thank you.
before you sign off, because the actual larger zoning permit, I need to know what the lights are gonna be. When do you think you're gonna make a choice on that middle sign? Because I
talk to-
don't-
Tom and I can speak in the morning, I think.
Okay,
if-
or just in the
Director
next day or
questions,
two.
yeah.
I've gotta do an administrative site plan report,
Of course, of
which
course.
will be pretty quick because it's really just the lights.
Okay.
But to be able to analyze that and what I'm gonna approve, I just kind of gotta know.
If he tells me right now, if he knows right now, I can
I
make
think
it.
let's see the 3 lights and the bigger sign.
3 lights and the bigger sign it is, folks.
Okay,
Okay.
awesome.
Awesome.
So
And
we
that-
will need a signature from you guys well, who do we have as Tom? On the recommendation form, so I'll scan that to you and you can scan it back.
That sounds great.
And then hopefully get the permit issued in the next couple of days. I just gotta do the site plan report. And are you gonna want that mailed to you, or do you wanna just come by and pick up the permit when it's ready?
I can come by and pick it up. Happy to do that.
Okay, we'll let you know.
Great. Thank you so much.
So
Thanks,
is
Tom.
it-
Thank you.
the larger lettering and 3 lights is
Is what they're gonna end up going.
is fine. And we,
Sorry to
again, we
make you
gave
write
them-
all that.
Oh, it's okay. No, that got you those recommendations, so that's perfect.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
what's the projected opening?
We're hoping early February, but supply chain issues are our main obstacle right now.
God.
Literally getting ice machines is the hardest thing in the world. So
Oh.
as soon as we get ice machines in, we'll be
You
open.
don't need a machine in February.
I know. I hope to see you all there too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, thank you very much, and good luck with your project. The next thing on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes of the 12:20 meeting, but only 2 of us
enough.
are here today who were at that meeting, so we'll have to table that till the next meeting. And again, our next meeting is Tuesday, January the 18th. Does anyone have anything else to add at this point? Or do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor of adjournment, speak your name.
Ben?
Eric,
And Steve. So meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
thank you.
Thank you, Eric. See you tomorrow.
That's right, yes.